It's tabletop time, I'm Dave, and today I'm gonna be doing something a little different. This video is sponsored by MSI, and we've got their awesome new MSI Summit monitor. I wanted to take advantage of this massive, awesome monitor and basically play like a lot of Warhammer video games. Let's explore the history of Warhammer 40k through the lens of the video games that have been released from the franchise, all the way from the first game in 1993, Space Crusade. But before we get into those old vintage games, let's see what gaming for Warhammer 40k is like today. All right, I can get into this.
It is the 41st millennium, and mankind rules the stars.
I don't know, I reckon their faces be a bit more mugged, a bit more beaten up than that. Now this is where we have big monitor. Let's max the graphics on everything. Hey, graphics! Graphics! What? Alright, well, I mean, you can pet the doggo. First of all, you can pet the doggo. This is the closest to owning a dog I get in real life, so please confirm your identity. Captain Price! It's Captain Price! He's made it to the Underhive. Oh, there he is. This guy just has a lot of specular reflections. He has a very moist looking lip. Man, the environments are so 40k. I love this. People shouldn't be so picky. I mean, I haven't played the game, but like, look, you get to be in 40k. You can relax. The biggest thing I liked about looking at this game was how awesome the actual setting is. It screams 40k, and aside of 40k, we never really get to see beyond faraway art of Hive Spires. Now I had a look at Metacritic, and it's not been well received. And after playing it for a few hours, I have to say I don't really understand why. That fast-paced, brutal combat that, yeah, it is the same thing in arenas over and over again, but a core good gameplay loop is what makes a game special. Oh! 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 Oh my god, that was Why can't I get rid of this gun? Oh that's a grenade. I'm actually really impressed with this game. It's not the Halo 1 or Mass Effect 1 or groundbreaking, world-shattering Skyrim that just changes gaming forever. And I don't think any game will be that for 40k. But it is just a really solid experience with a beautiful 40k skin that has a bunch of cool stuff in it. I'm not good at this game yet. I'm an old man. I don't usually play video games. Yeah, I popped her head like a watermelon. I feel like they got the scale right. Well, I don't know why I just killed myself, but I just killed myself. Now, from memory, it wasn't always like that. But before I talk about the early jank 90s history of 40k video games, I do want to talk a moment about our sponsor, MSI. Thank you to our sponsor today, MSI, and their brand new monitor, the Summit MS321 Up, which comes with this fancy glare protector, which actually saved me a headache throughout the course of filming this video with the lights beating down on me. I didn't realize how much having a bright light right there was fucking with my brain. This 32-inch 4K UHD is perfect for business and productivity, with enough screen space to allow you to use multiple screens and applications all at once, but there's no need for a multiple monitor setup. Another really nice feature of the Summit is the anti-flicker and less blue light technology in the screen. I really found that using the screen in a studio full of lights, the screen was actually the nicest place my eyes could be. It was really easy on the eyes, especially compared to the bright work environment that I'm in. The monitor boasts extremely high color accuracy with 136% sRGB and 95% DCI-P3, which basically means if you're working at this thing and color is important for your art, your drawing, your creativity, this monitor is pre-calibrated to guarantee expressive hues and extreme color accuracy. There is a productivity intelligence app, which provides the smartest tool, KVM function, color, and display mode to you while working with it every day. But I don't know what any of that means. You can also enable smart brightness settings in the monitor, which means it will automatically detect and adjust to ambient light levels, making this monitor a really good choice if you end up working late into the night. So thank you once again, MSI, and I encourage you all to check out their products. They're really nice. Now, the very first Warhammer 40,000 game ever released was Space Crusade in 1992. It was released on the Atari, MS-DOS, the Amiga, and all those other sort of PC console things that used floppy disks and are older than me. At the time, what computers could do was limited, but it certainly wasn't as limited as this. There it is! Well, I hope that nostalgia hits hard for those who need it. As a digital board game in an era where the graphics are very minimal and there's no multiplayer, I personally don't really understand why this game existed. Now, the game was very well received, which means for the period of time, it was apparently a pretty good game. In an era when you could buy the Space Crusade box game and play it, we're talking about a much better game experience from the box than perhaps the game experience in the game. Perhaps if you didn't have friends to play with, the rudimentary AI operating as the enemy would be good. But for me, as a modern gamer looking back at this, I found the biggest difficulty was actually the pace. Computer software was quite slow, and waiting for enemy game turns, movements, and animations to play out that are all unskippable made the experience relatively agonizing. Overall, it's certainly an interesting entry, but I don't think it adds much to the narrative of Warhammer 40k, as it is really just a board game adaptation. But as I said, it was successful, and it did spawn a follow-up. The next Warhammer 40k game was also a board game adaptation, this time of Space Hulk. Space Hulk came out in 1993 and was based on the board game from 1989. It was created by EA Games, and gameplay largely focuses around controlling these slow Terminators against hordes of Gene Stealers. Space Hulk.
Brother Marines, expect enemy contact from here onward.
Oh my god, this is terrifying and tiny. Oh, there's a blip. Ah! What the hell? This isn't like a board game at all. I'm killing Gene Stealers. I can't do anything. Wow, Space Hulk 1993. I could see how that would have been an exciting action game back in the day, but the art is, as with most games of the era, completely over the top. The pixel art, high color, saturation, and not very grimdark at all. It makes all of it feel very comic booky. I found neither of them were games I could dive into as someone in 2022 looking back into the history. After Space Hulk came out in 1993, there was a 2-year break until Space Hulk Vengeance of the Blood Angels came out. And this is the first game that I really wanted to dive into, as it was a 3D action game. I love this quote. "This title looks great, moves well, and when a demon dies, it actually splatters the walls with its innards. Very cool." Space Hulk Vengeance of the Blood Angels was a true first-person shooter. Diving into the game, I was really impressed with how immersive it was for the era. The sets are really cool, the environments are pretty cool, and it's quite moody. The eerie sounds of creatures roaming around was quite unsettling. That said, I will say it broke down a little bit once the combat actually started, as hordes, endless hordes of Gene Stealers would just pour at you and your squad, and you would mow them down in droves with the basic fire of your weapon. At the time, people were critical of the length of the game and how repetitive some of the missions got, although there are varied creature types as you go on. You can fight Chaos Space Marines, Gene Stealer hybrids, Patriarchs, and even a Magus. The training mission is where I really enjoyed the environment with no creatures and just an eerie atmosphere. It was super cool to wander around an old Space Hulk. I definitely think this is pretty much an all-out improvement on the previous game. It's less difficult by virtue of being able to understand what the hell is going on, but really it's just a graphical upgrade to the same concept. And with those 3 games out, it was another 2 years until the next Warhammer 40k game would come out. 1997, a game called Final Liberation. This game was actually made for the Warhammer Epic version of the game. I was pretty keen. We're getting into cutscene era. My family, my home. Oh, I love that orc has 0 range of movement in his neck. Oh, hell yeah, bruh. Look at that art! Oh, and it's got the little animated, oh, this is great. I love it. Oh my gosh, the Stormhammer. Shadow Sword, that is pretty unchanged. What the fuck is that? Oh, hell yeah. I kind of just want this game, but with modern designs. Found this game quite enjoyable, and I definitely could play it. It's probably the first of the games that I would consider actually playing. Now, if you can get past bad graphics, it's a pretty interesting tactical simulator and battlefield simulator, and the pre-recorded cutscenes alone are probably worth it to play through if you're into those sorts of games. When you compare this to the BattleTech games of the same era, it looks like crap. What? What the hell? How did that just blow up a Thunderhawk gunship in one shot? So I can see how 40k fans at the time would have been displeased. But now, through the lens of history and through the lens of time, all those games look like crap. So Final Liberation is fine, I guess. So if some fans were disappointed by Final Liberation, they were not with Warhammer 40k Chaos Gate coming out in 1998. We were now in the Microsoft Windows era with DOS left far behind, which means games could do a lot more than they used to be able to. It's chaos time. Oh, this era of graphics, yes! Yes! Oh my god, this is intense. They all have names. Is this like XCOM? Krakenate, frag, Medipack, 4 bolter mags. This immediately has so much potential and it's just gonna be awful. Brother Sergeant, move up. Now, to describe Chaos Gate's gameplay would be to describe XCOM's gameplay, but the graphics are better because it's newer. This game is very satisfying from like a shooting people in the head point of view. Due to it being a bit newer, things like accuracy and action point usage is really clearly displayed and quite easy to understand. Oh! Chaos Space Marine, baby! Victory, brothers! Oh. Oh, that cutscene, that low poly model. He has the dildo.
Set course for Chimera 3. Launch forces upon arrival.
As a tactical combat game, I absolutely love this. While RNG is an element and you have to be careful of explosive weapons and surprise attacks, unlike previous games, the slower pace is just maintained throughout the whole game. It's a tactical combat game and you know what you're getting into. After playing Chaos Gate, I was excited for the last 90s game, Warhammer 40k Rites of War. So here we go. It's mostly, my favorite thing about all of this is the old cutscenes and old lore and old art.
We have come to witness and to sacrifice. The time for battle is once again upon us.
I've heard that sound effect 400,000 times in my life. All right. Oh, let's bloody get in. Look at these little crab walk. Did I win? Certainly an interesting game and look quite indicative of PC games from the era. I've seen heaps of games like that. I'm sure some people would find a lot of value in it, but for me, it's the less tactically satisfying version of the previous game, which was Chaos Gate, which was quite a lot like XCOM. So that one was interesting, a look into the early Eldar. I certainly remember the old avatars being like that, the jankiness of them, their pre-redesigned sort of large, clunky appearances. Gameplay and everything felt pretty much even like a step back to the game before. And with 40k gamers left with Rites of War to play for several years, it wasn't until 2003 and the marketing release of Fire Warrior, which I think we're now getting to the period where most people will remember it.
Here is Terra, known to antiquity as Earth, the heart of the Imperium of Man.
Oh my god, this is more like it. Is this photos of my family? Oh. I already want to hit the options. There is only audio options. Why are there no controls options? Eerie, music free. Don't land in the stinky, Fire Warrior. I can't say I'm impressed so far. The lack of controls and the lack of like ambient sound effects, the pitter-patter of objects, things like that. It's really telling. It's really weird to be playing a first-person game where there's like no basic quality of life. Am I meant to be helping? Where are those shots coming from? This is so bad. Like, would you just look at this? This is so disappointingly bad because I haven't played this my whole life and like this is just lazy. Why are there laser pulse rounds coming out of brick walls? Like we can literally see where these effects are being cast from. Did they not think players would turn around to just look behind them and see that nonsense? It's left its door behind! You left your door! What is that dude's uniform? What is Santa doing here? What is that dude's uniform? What is Santa doing here? I was never allowed to buy this game as a kid, and I'd always wanted to play it. It was Warhammer, it was Tau. So when I was starting this video and doing some research, I was super pumped to play Fire Warrior. It's shit. It's so bad. The maps are over-recycled and linear with boring enemies and boring gameplay. The guns lack any kind of meaty punch at all. They fire way too many weak projectiles at high velocity and low accuracy. I gotta be honest, I didn't think there'd be cheese in this game. That's changed my opinion on it. This game is so bad. I will seriously, I'm done after this. I was so hoping something would happen that isn't just terrible level design. I thought we were gonna get to fight a Space Marine. No, we are not gonna get to fight a Space Marine. What a game. I'm sure some people have a soft spot in their hearts for Fire Warrior, but honestly, if you compare it to other games that are literally years older than it, it is really bad. So with Fire Warrior down, it is very lucky for Games Workshop that the next game to come out is Warhammer 40k Dawn of War. Warhammer Dawn of War was developed by Relic Entertainment and released by THQ. Playing Dawn of War 1 even now, a lot of it holds up. It is a tactical resource management base building combat game where you can control, in the original release, up to one of 4 factions: the Orcs, the Space Marines, the Eldar, and the Chaos Space Marines. Gameplay focuses around capturing points and reinforcing them to increase the amount of resources you get while you build upgrade squads and buildings and then charge into the enemy to fight. One thing I really love about these games is you can take them at your own pace. The story and setting were really well done, and I think in contrast to the 90s depictions of Space Marines where they're kind of just men in armor, this was the first game that really showcased Space Marines from the protagonist's point of view to be everything they're supposed to be in our modern understanding of Warhammer 40k. The game had 3 expansions. The first expansion, Off the Ranks, came out a year after the initial release of Dawn of War. This was Dawn of War Winter Assault. Primarily, it added the Imperial Guard faction to the game. It also introduced an interesting order versus disorder campaign, largely focused around activating and controlling a fallen Titan relic on the planet. The campaign was pretty cool and the narrative stories continued to be fairly high quality, and the addition of Imperial Guard was a balanced and welcome one. After Dawn of War Winter Assault came out the next year in 2006, we got Dawn of War Dark Crusade. I'd say Dark Crusade is the most played version of Dawn of War. Now that is a huge bold statement out of absolutely nowhere, but just from my personal experience and all my friends, Dark Crusade is kind of the complete version of the game. There was an alternating storyline for each of the factions' motivations and why they wanted to control the planet, and ultimately it added a sort of strategic resources element to the game that would be followed on in Dawn of War 2. However, that was not the end for the original Dawn of War, although I think in the mind of a lot of players, it kind of was. 2 years after the release of Dark Crusade came Dawn of War Soulstorm. And Soulstorm, I'd say, was the only expansion that didn't live up to the Dawn of War name. With the lower model quality and unexciting story, and the fact that the game's original engine was starting to get a bit old, it really wasn't that big a hit. Dawn of War Soulstorm was kind of the Dawn of War 3 of Dawn of War 1, if that makes sense. Now, while that wraps up what I'd call now the retro or the history of Warhammer 40k gaming, the next game to come out on the list would be Dawn of War 2 in 2009. If you'd like me to do another video exploring the 30 or more games on every single platform, including iOS, including Android, and all the PC game releases, and go through their history until we get to the modern day, I'm willing to. I'd like to spend a week at work playing video games. So if you want to see that, make sure you like this video and let me know in the comments. So a final thank you to our sponsor MSI. I really liked using this monitor. It is super sweet, and their computer as well, the Creator Series, has worked really well. It was great to share this with you, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye everyone. Now I will push down my plague, Nurgle's gifts, and take the day off work.